All right, y'all. So I've been researching all day. It's about 4:30 on a Sunday, and I've been sitting here at my desk. Uh, I run on Duncan, you know. I run on Duncan, and I've been researching. I've been putting together information, collecting a lot of information, and I want to share some of it with you guys. So what I've been researching, I put up in my last video, I talked about virtual reality, right? So we're gonna continue in that same vein and flush it out some more and why it's important. I am of the opinion that we do live in a simulation. We do live in a simulation. So I'm studying virtual reality, I'm studying simulations, I'm studying VR, which is virtual reality, or VE, virtual environments, augmented reality, AR, which is augmented realities, which all are similar and related. What I want to talk about is that we all simulate. Human beings are simulating creatures. We all simulate. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that and why I do believe we live in a simulation. I definitely believe that. I'm more of the opinion that we are existing in a simulation and that we do, I believe that. Now again, it's philosophical. This is highly philosophical, very philosophical. So don't be so ready to push back. It's philosophy. So first, let's break down simulation, what that means. Let's look at the etymological root definition of simulation. Simulation simply means to replicate. When you replicate something, you're duplicating it. When you're duplicating it, you are making a copy of it. So a simulation is just a copy of something. That's it. It's a model. It's a copy. It's a duplication, replication. It's an imitation. It's a mock-up. It's another synonym for it. You're mocking up. You're making a copy of something. It's a reproduction, simulation, and we all simulate. So let me give you an example of what I mean by we all simulate. So you have a date that you're going on tomorrow. You met a girl last week. You're going on a date. You met her last week, Monday, and you met her on a Monday, and you're planning to date her on the following Monday, whatever. Just bear with me. From the time you met her till the time you go out on a date with her, you've been thinking about her, or you're thinking about him if you're a female. Let's look at the thought process. So you're thinking about somebody you just met, and you're thinking about a date that you're going to go with them next week. As you're thinking about the person you met, you might conjure up, you will conjure up their face. Right? So you have their face in your mind. You're also going to conjure up their voice. So now you have you've incorporated vision. You have their face in your mind. Your visionary occipital lobe is at work. So you have incorporated the sense of vision. You might remember the sound of their voice. So now you're conjured up the sense of sound, which is your ears. So you have two of your senses at work. You have your sight, your vision in them in your mind, and you have your sound, you're hearing them with your ears. So you have their voice, you have their picture in your head. They might have had on a perfume when you met them. So now you're conjuring up the smell, which is incorporating the nostrils, your nose. So you have three of your senses at work. Let's say this was somebody that you kissed. Maybe they had a certain lipstick on or a certain lip gloss, so now you're remembering how that tastes, right? If you kiss the person, you remember how they taste. So now you have the sight, vision, you have the hearing of their voice, and you have the smell of their perfume or their cologne. So that's three. Now you have taste. Maybe they kissed you or you kissed them. So now you're remembering how that they taste, right? They had maybe a certain lip gloss or whatever. Right? So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4 of your senses incorporated in your imagination. And you hug the person. You remember how they felt. They were warm. Maybe the hug was distant. Maybe it felt nonchalant. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a very loving. Whatever the case is, whatever the impression the hug meant, you now conjure up how they felt. So now you got all five of your senses in what's called fully immersion, or fully immersive. That means fully immersive means all five of your senses, which is your perceptions, all of your sensory perception are incorporated and engaged in the person that you met a week ago, or the person that you're going to go on a date with. Stay with me here. So now you have this, this is called simulating. You've just replicated the person you met. You replicated how they smell, you replicated how they taste, you replicated how they felt, you replicated how they look, and you replicate how they sound. So now this is called simulating. You are copying unbeknownst to you. This is what I mean. All human beings simulate. It could be about a job. It could be about a person you met. It could be about money. You simulate every day, all day about every and anything. We're just not aware of it. I'm just detailing what we do. So that's a form of simulation. Now, let's say you start thinking about where you're going to go on a date with them. You think about the restaurant. You think about making sure you have gas in your car. You think about you might want to wash your cars. You think about the clothes you're going to wear, the cologne you're going to throw on. You want to look swag. You start. What I'm saying? You're making sure you look good. All of that in your mind. Same thing. You're incorporating all your senses. Simulating. You've just created the entire environment in your mind of the restaurant, of whatever, and you've created in your mind the entire environment of the person. Simulated. You've simulated. That's simulation. That's what I mean when I say I believe we all live in a simulation. Now, check this out. So you got the whole restaurant and everything in your mind simulated. You have the person simulated. All that's left to be done now is to manifest. Manifest. Now, a week go by, the time comes, you're out with the person. Everything that's happening a week later has already transpired and occurred in your mind, in your simulated mind, in the mental atmosphere and environment of your mind. What's occurring a week later is only the manifestation. It is only the product of the simulated. It is a copy. What's manifested in the outer environment is only the copy of what has already transpired in the, let's call it the virtual reality of your mind. Or let's call it the launch pad from your mind. It launched. This is where it launches from. Out of the mind, it launches out into the material, physical world. But somebody said to me, but if you can't say you live in a simulation, because if you go outside and you walk in front of a car, you get hit by the car, you're dead. Or you break an arm, a leg, you're going to get injured. Well, yes, that's true. But that does not dismiss the fact that we live in a simulation, because all of our manifestations and all of our actions that take place outside first are simulated in our minds. I have a cup of coffee here and I drink my coffee. Before I actually drink that coffee, I had to have an idea that I wanted some coffee. I see, okay, I'm going to go to Dunkin' Donuts. Now, I see myself going to Dunkin' Donuts, purchasing my coffee, coming back, researching, studying, and drinking my coffee. There's something called frame rate. Frame rate. Now, a frame, in terms of the VR or the VE, virtual environment, frame is a multiple. It's multiples. It's a multiple of images and pictures. Say it again. It's multiple images and pictures that are in a frame-like structure, hence the term frame. There's something called a frame rate. In order to create a fluid or a solid, or to make something look solid, or to add realism, dimension, or whatever, depth to a picture, the frame rate has to be between a healthy frame rate, or a workable frame rate has to be between 60, I believe, to 80 frames per second. And what that means is flow. It's the frequency of the frame rate. So how many times that frame rate, that picture, that image flashes before the screen of your mind per second. 60 to 80, they say, is a healthy frame rate to where what you're seeing is believable. If it's less than 60 to 80, the brain won't be tricked. Because remember, virtual reality tricks the brain. And your brain, the human brain, I wrote it here, the human brain quickly accepts the unreal world, right? So the human brain, our brain quickly accepts and adapts to the unreal world, meaning it can be easily manipulated and easily tricked. It doesn't know the difference between right and wrong. It doesn't know the difference between false and real, right? When we're talking in terms of the imagination, the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between false and real, so it can easily be tricked. In order to trick the brain, the frame rate has to be between 60 and 80, meaning the flashes, right? The flashes of that image has to be flashed in front of your eyes between 60 to 80 frame rates per second. If it's less than that, the brain won't achieve you won't achieve what's called believability. Believability, right, is important in terms of creating this virtual world. So why is this important? Why am I talking about this? Is because if you understand, right, that all of what we are experiencing is merely the result or the product of what we're simulating, meaning what we are creating in our minds, then we can choose the reality we want in our material or materialistic world. As I said before, somebody said if you go in front of a car, you get hit by a car. That's real. Of course it is. I didn't answer that. The answer to that is the reason that does not deny the fact that we live in a simulation. What that proves is only that there are laws to simulation. There are rules that must be observed. Case in point, the dimension that we exist in as physical beings is mass and matter. It's a dimension of mass and matter. Not all dimensions consist of mass and matter. You go into the fourth dimension, which is time, space-time continuum. Not necessarily mass and matter, right? Time has no mass and matter. You can't touch and feel time, but we know time exists because it's a chronology, it's an order of events that allow us to have order and structure in our realm. That's all time is. Series of events, right? A sequence of events, order of events, right? That allow us to have structure, right? So we can't like, it's intangible. We can't touch time, right? It's intangible. But we have, there are rules to the simulation. Put it like this. You have a basketball game. They got referees, right? You have a football game, they have referees. Boxing match, have referees. And if you violate rules in boxing, you can lose points or be disqualified. Same thing with a basketball game. You can be benched, you can be suspended, fined, ejected from a game, depending on the nature of the flagrant foul, right? Football, the point, I think you see my point. So yeah, I do believe we live in, again, this is my opinion, it's my philosophy, it's not gold, right? Like, this is not the Midas. This is not the gospel. That's the term I'm looking for. This is not the gospel. This is my opinion. It's not the gold standard. So don't get so upset. Don't get bent out of shape with this. But what I firmly do believe is that in regards to, if you go outside and you get in front of a car and you get hit, will you die and get hurt? So how can that be a simulation? No, it's still a simulation. It's just that there are rules in the simulation. There are rules in the simulation. You can't violate mass and matter. We're in the dimension of mass and matter. Now, if we were existing in the etheric realm, well, we couldn't even make this video because I would have no mass, right? I wouldn't have a body to operate in. I couldn't make this video because there would be no matter to manufacture a phone or a video or anything. So we exist in a dimension of mass and matter, and therefore you must respect the laws of mass and matter. No different than you have to respect the laws of gravity, right? You can't just go jump off a building because gravity says you have to respect me, or else I will throw you down at a rapid, high velocity and you will die. So Yeah, we do. Again, my philosophy is I do believe we live in a simulation, but I also believe, though, that there are rules that we must observe, and you can't be foolish, right? So, but that doesn't, like I said, discredit my philosophy, right? It's just my take. I'm sure there's somebody else out there that agrees with me, but it's what I believe, right? So, yeah, but again, so the point of this video is this: if you understand that you're simulating, meaning you're producing in your mind, you're creating in your mind scenarios in your mind that ultimately will manifest in your world. Because while you're simulating, remember this, while you're simulating, you're radiating, you're emitting what's called a frequency pattern or energetic pattern, energy signature, your energy signature, right? You're emitting that, you're sending it out. And what you're broadcasting, what you're emitting is going to, the short answer is manifest, which means reveal itself in your life, show up in your life, manifest. The long answer is those patterns that you're emitting are actually amalgamating, which means combining with other entities, other energetic entities that's around you in your distant environment, not necessarily your proximity, but in distance environment, and it's matching. Remember, it's broadcasting, you're radiating, you're sending out signals. And the signals that you're sending out are being picked up by other signals that's in and around the environment you might find yourself. And it's called frequency matching. That's one term. If you talk to people in the MIT world, the engineering world, it's called frequency matching. It's also called resonating or resonant frequency. And those are just like fancy terms that mean they are combining with other signals that are of the same wavelength or the same bandwidth. So that's why a lot of times this is also how you explain karmic energy, right? What's karma? People talk about karma. This is also how you explain that. That also explains, I think it's Newton's third law. For every action, there's a reaction, right? For every action, there's an equal reaction. Oh no, for every action, there's an opposite reaction, right? For every action, there's an opposite reaction of greater or equal magnitude, right? That explains that, right? So that's why a lot of times when people think, you can't get away with nothing. You can't get away with anything because of that law that whatever you're emitting, broadcasting, transmitting, sending out, signaling, will find signals that are of equal frequency or bandwidth, and they will amalgamate, they will combine, and as it combines, it will continue to compound, and when something compounds, it's just growing and feeding. It feeds and grows off itself, so it's self-sustaining. So this is why you don't even need to do anything. Once you emit it and it connects with other signals, it compounds until ultimately it shows up in your life. And that's the first law of thermodynamics. Energy is not destroyed nor created, simply transforms and takes on different shapes. So that's why if you do things in this simulated reality that we're in, if you do things, you do it on a Monday and you think you got away with it, it might come back to you the following Monday, but it doesn't come back to you exactly how you sent it out. You sent it out wearing a dress, it came back to you in the pants. I hope you see I'm just being facetious with the analogy. You send it out with lipstick on, it came back with a wig, right? You send it out as a young boy, it came back as a grown elephant. I'm trying to make some extreme radical analogies here because that's how it works. It never comes back to you exact. So that's why when things come and happen, you go, well, I got bad luck. No, you don't. It's not bad luck. It's what you sow, you're reaping, right? You're being recompensed for what you transmitted, but it didn't come back the way you expected it to, right? You robbed somebody, right? Or you cheated somebody out of some money, right? And all of a sudden, your house caught on fire a year later, right? Or, somebody stole your car. No, that's too similar. Whatever the point is, it's going to come back, but it's going to come back in a way where you would never be able to make the correlation. You'll never connect it to, oh, this is why I did this. I stole this, or I cheated somebody out of this. And 5 years later, something happened. You're like, man, I have bad luck. Or 5 months, or whatever. So there's no such thing as bad luck. It's just your karmic, what they call your karmic energy, which is just your signals that you've been signaling are returning home. As they say, your roosters are coming home, right? The chickens come home to roost. And that's where that saying comes from. The chickens are coming home to roost. But it never comes back the way you expect it. And this is all within the simulation, right? You're simulating, meaning you are reproducing, you're replicating, you're duplicating, you're creating, right? You're creating your world inside of your mind every day, and you're broadcasting it out. And then it comes back in ways that you're not aware of, or because you're not on a certain frequency, you can't understand why these things are happening, so you call it bad luck. And it goes the same way for good luck. There's no such thing as bad or good luck. It's simply the simulating you're doing returning back to you. And if you're having good simulation where you're creating good concepts, you're creating good images, you walk around with good images, right? It's called being in flow. If you're in flow, it's the frame, what I told you about, the frame rate, where there's a constant flow of positive frame rates being flashed before the screen of your mind. It's continuous, it's in flow, and therefore you're radiating, you're emanating, you're broadcasting these signals that are finding signals of the same wavelength, frequency, bandwidth, and they're compounding and manifesting, showing up in physical things, objects, people, situations, events. And you go, man, I'm having good luck. You're not having good luck. You just don't understand how the science works, how the simulation process works. All right, if you guys like this, you know what to do. Don't just hit a like, but leave a comment, subscribe. Peace.